They find him off-putting, but in the biggest games he ever played in the postseason, he dominated the games. He was the best player on the field. But here's the thing. If sports writers control anything too long, it ends poorly. MVP voting in the NBA, Hall of Fame voting in any sport, and newspapers. Think about this. In the Hall of Fame, this I'm not joking, Babe Ruth, there were people that wouldn't vote in Babe Ruth on the first ballot. Yeah. Hank Aaron didn't get in. Ken Griffey, Cal Ripken, Greg Maddux. Listen, you get to a point where if sports writers control it, they just ruin it. Too petty.
Kurt Schilling is a terrible person.
Right.
But you can have the same rant prepared every single year for the Hall of Fame, no matter who's up for it, and just play it on a loop every single year. It doesn't matter what the scenario is. The writers are going to make it about the writers every single year, without question.
Do you know what? There's not a single football player who votes on the NFL Hall of Fame. Not a single football player.
Yeah.
A player. Not one.
I think there's like player representatives.
Let me ask Schlereth. Mark Schlereth, Fox Sports NFL analyst, 3 rings, 2 Pro Bowls. Now joining us live. By the way, is there a player on the Hall of Fame football voting? Does that ever irk you, the voting for it?
Oh, the voting irks me all the time because there's a lot of times you don't know as a writer what a good player was or not. If you don't have statistics to quantify it, then sometimes, especially with offensive linemen, I had a conversation last year when Steve Hutchinson was going into the Hall of Fame, or when he was one of the finalists, and he had missed it years before. And his presenter was like, "Hey, listen, man, I don't know between him and Baselli and da-da-da. I don't know what the chances are. There's no statistics to define that." And I go, "Are you kidding me? Like, the poison pill in a contract was created because Steve Hutchinson was so damn dominant."
Yeah.
Like, all you have to say is Steve Hutchinson, poison pill, Hall of Fame, book it. And he went in. Like, he went in that year. So, sometimes you don't know what you're voting on. And if you're just looking at statistics, they don't tell the story of a guy's career. So those are the only real issues that I have when it comes to Hall of Fame voting.
Yeah. By the way, I'm going to get to an NSYNC story in a minute. But first, because Schlereth apparently has a great NSYNC story. And I'm not I have no idea what it is, so I'm going to get to it in a second. Aaron Rodgers, they lose. Whatever you think of Aaron Rodgers, he started a keg of dynamite. Did you have any issues with what Aaron Rodgers said after the loss?
No, I think that, we always said this as players, and even when, I've been working as an analyst, don't ever listen to a guy right after a big-time loss, especially a playoff loss. Don't ever listen to a guy right when the season ends and he's at his checkout physical and somebody puts a mic in his face, right? The emotions are raw. You're beat to a pulp. You're physically tired. Mentally, you're exhausted. And you just had the most disappointing loss of your career to that point, right? I just am like, give him 2 or 3 weeks, let him cool down, let him figure out what he wants to do, let him figure out where he is in his career. Obviously, the guy is playing at a very high level. I just kind of grain of salt when Aaron Rodgers spoke about, am I going to be here? Am I not? Of course he's going to be here. I mean, he's arguably the best quarterback in football. Of course he's not going anywhere.
Yeah. So we were saying this in the 8 years Belichick hasn't had Brady, 6 losing, 1 didn't make the playoffs. And, it sounds ridiculous, but if, he's the coach and the GM, he runs everything. Mm-hmm. If they were 6-10, because the AFC East is getting better, Mark. It is. Flores is terrific.
Sure.
Buffalo's not getting worse. And if the Jets get the right quarterback of Deshaun Watson, good luck. And I said, if they went 6-10 again next year, I do think I could see Kraft going, all right, we're going to blow this thing up a little bit. You got to have a GM. You got to do this. Not that Belichick is on a hot seat, but you had owners. Billionaires are not patient. Do you think if Belichick struck, because of Brady's success, and now it feels like it was more Brady than Belichick, what if Bill goes 6-10 again next year? Would you be surprised if there is a hot seat applied to him?
I wouldn't be surprised if from the standpoint of, hey, we're going to bring somebody in to help you with personnel decisions. I mean, if you look at the draft and the draft record and the personnel decisions in the last couple of years, they haven't been great. And, frankly, I mean, Brady left that situation because he knew in the twilight of his career, he needed more weapons around him. He needed a better system or better weapons around him. And so, you go to Tampa Bay, I think he handpicked them simply because of not only the weapons around him, but the great defense. Brady has won in a multitude of ways. They ran the ball with clock Corey Dillon, clock killing Corey Dillon. They played great defense back in the Brewski years. And so they've won it different ways. But I think he understands the value. One thing about Tom Brady and talking to Tom Brady over the course of the season, I think I did 4 Tampa games. He understands the value of everybody and that, you can't be great unless everybody can contribute. And he knows that. And that's one of the reasons he left. So I wouldn't be surprised if they do a 6-10 season again to say, hey, we're going to have somebody come in here and help with personnel decisions and take some of the kind of quote unquote load off your plate.
Oh, I'll let you tell the NSYNC story. So I said today, when Timberlake left NSYNC, Timberlake flourished, NSYNC kind of disappeared. Beyonce left Destiny's Child, Beyonce big star, Destiny's Child not as big. Is basically Bill Belichick, Lance Bass in a hoodie. That Brady leaves and he's just nothing. He's a nothing burger.
Well, I think it always comes down to, hey, as good as a coach is, if you don't have great players, I don't care how good you are, you're just not going to win. You got to have great players, especially at the quarterback position. But in 1998, we won the Super Bowl with Denver. And so it was the 99 Super Bowl, Super Bowl 33. We go to the Pro Bowl. It's myself, Tony Jones, Tommy Allen, and we play the game. And NSYNC is the halftime, like the halftime crew or something. So we have a luau afterwards. And I'm old, but my kids were older. We had kids, in our teen, and my wife and I in our teens. So I'm the only person there that knows. They're just milling around at the luau, and I'm like, oh my God, NSYNC is here, and everybody, all my buddies are like, NSYNC, who the hell's NSYNC? So I have connected with NSYNC, and for years I would take the girls to all their concerts. We go backstage with NSYNC and stuff. And then you're right, Justin Timberlake got really famous, and but I still keep in contact with some of the other guys. So there you go, NSYNC, man. Who knew? I love it. Joey
Fatone and Lance Bass and Mark Schlereth. How about that?
Chris Kirkpatrick. Don't forget Chris Kirkpatrick.
I didn't. My bad.
They're very underrated.
Shame on
underrated.
Me. Shame on me. By the way, I do think I don't want to root for or against anybody in these big games, but I got to tell you, Andy Reid's about as easy as anybody to root for, and Mahomes is so joyful when he plays. I do feel like there's a little LeBron fatigue in the NBA. He's not going away. I do feel there's a little Brady fatigue in the NFL. I find myself, as I think about this game, if Tom wins, retire, that would be perfect, like Elway. But do you find yourself in games like this, if you had to choose who won the game, which side would you go? What ending would make you happier?
I would be happy with both of them. Obviously, the history of Tom Brady to be able to have the championship pedigree he has, 6 world titles. He's been there 9 times. Now he's going to his 10th Super Bowl. If he won another one with a completely different team in a pandemic, we're not worthy. We're not worthy. But you're right about Andy Reid. You're right about he's easy to root for, and Patrick Mahomes. And, for me, there's no loser. I love greatness, and you're watching greatness with both of them. And in regards to Andy Reid, because you mentioned how good a coach he is, I think one of the biggest things that he did over the course of the year was to keep his players engaged. They're the Globo Gym of football. We're better than you, and we know it. And it's easy to get bored. It's easy to just kind of, willy-nilly yourself through the season. And one of the things that I think Andy Reid did that was masterful, constantly changing formations, constantly designing new plays, constantly creating things. Hey, here's a play from 1940, where everybody spins in the backfield and we run some triple option. That keeps players engaged. It's something that they have to study. It's something that they have to watch. It's something that they have to kind of prepare for. And it's something that keeps everybody engaged. And I think more than anything, that's probably the best thing that Andy Reid did with an exceptional team, is to keep everybody focused, everybody locked in, while they're just running roughshod through the rest of the league.
Great stuff, Mark Schlereth. Always additive, a bonus every time. Good talking to you, buddy.
Likewise, my friend.